this is Gardetrace. Yes, I know, I said in a Broly movie review that my next video was the One Punch Man review, but I have things to say about this movie and I want to say them while it's fresh on my mind. Alita Battle Angel is a cyberpunk action movie based on the manga Gunmu, or Battle Angel Alita as it's known in its English translations. I am not familiar with the manga at all. I have never read or even heard of it until after I heard of this movie, and I didn't hear of that until October 7th of last year. You know what day that was? The day Venom came out. So yeah, I was late to the party. Although, when I saw the trailer, I saw Alita's big, cute anime eyes and instantly wanted to go see this movie because I thought she was adorable as hell. Now, when I learned what this movie was based on, it raised all of the usual red flags when it comes to live-action adaptations of anime and manga. 2 years prior to this movie, I saw Ghost in the Shell, though it was shit, and I thoroughly tore that movie a new one. That was a highly Americanized adaptation that didn't understand its source material and fails on almost every level. So I was a bit worried that Alita Battle Angel would follow suit, however not to the point that I had no optimism. I may be a huge Ghost in the Shell fan, however I know nothing about Battle Angel Alita, so I didn't know what to expect from this movie. So I got to see this movie from the perspective of a non-fan, someone who's not familiar with the source material, which is rare when it comes to live-action manga adaptations. This movie is my first impression of the entire Battle Angel franchise. Is it a good first impression? Does this movie make me want to give the manga a chance? Is this movie a live-action manga adaptation done right? Well, if you've seen the community post, you already know the answer to that question. And if you didn't, spoiler alert! In the 26th century, after the Great War known as the Fall, a cyborg scientist named Dr. Dyson Ito is searching through a junkyard where he finds the head of a female cyborg whose human brain is still intact. He brings her back to his lab to rebuild her. When she awakens, she has no memory of who she is, not even her name. Dr. Ito names her Alita after his dead daughter. She begins to take in her surroundings as she explores Iron City, which is underneath a city in the sky called Zalem. She meets a teenage boy named Hugo who introduces her to Motorball, which is basically Rollerball on steroids. She then discovers that Dr. Ito is a hunter-warrior, and when confronted by killer cyborgs, she instinctively fights them, killing 2 and injuring 1 named Gruishka. While fighting, she recalls a memory of her fighting style called Panzerkunst. She wants to be a hunter-warrior too, as it could help her regain more memories, but Dr. Ito is completely against the idea. The next day, Hugo shows her a battleship which she enters and finds a berserker body she feels was meant for her, but Dr. Ito absolutely refuses to install her in the body, so she runs off to do her own thing against his wishes. First of all, I love Alita. Despite the fact that she has amnesia, she still has personality. She's very expressive when it comes to taking in the world around her, unlike Captain Marvel based on the trailers. One thing about her that has polarizing opinions are her eyes. One camp thinks they make her look cute, other think she has an uncanny valley look to her. First of all, I completely disagree with the latter camp, as it's her big anime eyes that drew me into this in the first place. Nothing about her looks uncanny valley because she isn't exactly trying to pass for human. Her looks let you know she very well isn't human, so uncanny valley is the wrong term to describe her looks. If anything, her eyes greatly add to how expressive she is. I've read an article that says this movie doesn't understand why anime characters have big eyes in the first place, which, while it has a point, I feel it's completely missing the point to why Alita has them here. I feel they were a very good stylistic choice for this movie, and Alita's flashbacks show that there were others with the same eyes as her. The scenes where she's taking in the scenery are really adorable. She's a very charming and likable character, and Rosa Salazar knocks it out of the park with her performance of Alita. Rosa really looks like she's into the role and gives her all, and makes Alita feel full of life. The CGI on Alita is very convincing as she feels like a natural part of the world instead of looking out of place despite having larger eyes than everyone else. It helps that other characters make physical contact with her, which gives her more of a presence. I feel like I could reach out at any point and actually feel that Alita is there. Alita is adorable, but she's also quite a badass. She isn't a strong female character whose only traits are being female and kicking ass. She's an actual strong character who just so happens to be female. She is invested in the world around her and aspires to reach the world floating above her in order to find out who she is, which makes her a very compelling character. However, there are certain moments involving her that are downright cheesy. For example, she registers as a hunter warrior, then goes to a bar full of hunter warriors and gives an earnest speech to rally other hunter warriors to her cause to hunt Gruishka, then, unsurprisingly, gets laughed at. That was so cheesy it was ridiculous. First of all, she has been a hunter warrior for only an hour at most. She has no kills to her name as a hunter warrior, and she expects everyone to just join her cause. That's fucking hilarious. However, it makes sense coming from her. She's mostly a blank slate, so she only has a basic, rudimentary understanding of things. She is very much a wide-eyed idealist, and she has the eyes to match. So this doesn't hurt her character or the movie, and actually makes her even more adorable. Christopher Waltz plays Dyson Ito, and besides Rosa Salazar, is the best actor of the movie. He shows concern for Alita as she's headed towards a world of violence to uncover the truth about herself. Since she gets to start off fresh on a clean slate, he wishes she would forget uncovering her past and live a peaceful life. He views her as a surrogate daughter, rebuilds her using the body originally meant for his dead daughter, and even gives her his daughter's name. He gets in the way of Alita's pursuit to her past, but you can't hate him because he means well. He does eventually let her do her own thing, but he's always there for her if she's in trouble. He also showcases that he's a bit of a badass himself despite not being a cyborg. Alita and Ito's relationship is the best one of this movie, unlike Alita's other relationship, which I'll get into in a minute. Another really good aspect of this movie is the world building. Iron City feels like a very lived-in place, and getting to experience it for the first time along Alita makes for a more compelling experience. Zalem feels like a very mysterious place, as we don't get to see it in the movie. However, there are things throughout Iron City that are related to Zalem, as well as tie into Alita's origins, which makes the world feel more connected. When it comes to a wealthy city floating in the sky above a poor one, the first thing that comes to a lot of people's minds is Elysium. But long before Elysium, that concept has been around since the early 90s in the Battle Angel Alita manga. So Elysium was likely inspired by it, similar to how The Matrix was inspired by Ghost in the Shell. So the tropes from those anime and manga have become very commonplace and can be viewed as cliches nowadays. However, I don't think that's a problem with this film, as it utilizes those tropes effectively. The action sequences are spectacular. The CGI is very good all around, and nothing seems weird or out of place. The fight choreography is very engaging, and watching Alita in action is very satisfying. The fights look like something out of an anime, which it should, and it's good to see it translates well into a live-action movie. The motorball scenes are very good as well. Unfortunately, we never get to see Alita play a proper game of pro motorball. The action is pretty intense for a PG-13 movie, though not as bloody as the source material. It could achieve that with an R rating, but I don't think that's necessary for the film. The pacing of this movie is really fast. The plot does not stay in one place for very long and is constantly on the move. There are many different subplots throughout the movie that don't get enough time to be explored. You can tell this movie is based off of a manga, as it's trying to cover a lot of ground during the course of a 2-hour movie, but it doesn't have enough time to flesh out everything. The biggest victim of this is Alita's relationship with Hugo. He's the first friend she makes, and he is the one that introduces her to many things in Iron City, like motorball. He even introduces her to chocolate, which is a very cute scene. However, this movie plays their relationship up as a romance, which feels very rushed. They suddenly become all lovey-dovey for each other, and it feels shoehorned in. There's a scene where she offers him her literal heart, but this movie does nothing to earn this scene, even if it is from the manga. Hugo himself is serviceable as a character, but his romantic angle with Alita isn't very convincing. It's not as bad as it is in the OVA, but it still isn't good here. Although Hugo is completely unlikable in the OVA. If their relationship was played up more as a friendship than a romance, I think it would work better for the sake of the film. This movie has too much to juggle to try to cram a romance down our throats. Oh well, it's still a better love story than Twilight. Also, there are two big named actors who are criminally wasted in this movie. Jennifer Connelly and Mahershala Ali. Jennifer Connelly plays Dr. Ito's ex-wife, Chirin. She's a very forgettable character altogether. She has nothing interesting to do for the whole movie. Her most memorable scenes consist of her smashing a roach and looking sexy while in bed. Wow, what a performance. We really needed an Oscar winner for this. She doesn't even look like she's into her role. This reminds me of when she played Betty Ross in the first Hulk movie, and she looked bored and emotionless throughout the movie. She has more personality as an AI voice in Spider-Man Homecoming than she does in either Hulk or Alita. As for Mahershala Ali, he plays the role of Vector, the main antagonist of this movie, and I say that with massive air quotes. In the trailers, he seemed like he'd be a big deal. However, he is constantly undermined by Nova, played by Edward Norton, another actor from a Hulk movie, who is the actual big bad, but his physical appearance is reduced to a cameo at the end of the movie. Nova constantly mind controls Vector and speaks through him, and Vector hardly has a sense of agency in this movie. When Vector gets to act independently, his scenes are good, and he has some of the best lines, but it's not nearly enough. Hell, when Alita kills him at the end of the movie, he is controlled by Nova, so Vector isn't even conscious when he gets his comeuppance. What a waste. I know this movie is trying to build up Nova for a future movie, but don't do it at the expense of this movie. That guy who played Francis from Deadpool is also in this movie as Zapan, who is a hunter-warrior who considers himself to be Alita's rival. He mostly gets his ass handed to him by her, however he's given plenty to do and is one of the more memorable characters of the film. That's more than I can say for Vector or Chirin. Also, this movie ends on a cliffhanger. The movie time skips several months to show Alita is a star motorball player, gaining her right to go to Zalem by competing for the championship. The movie ends with a crowd cheering her name as she looks up pointing her sword towards Zalem, and Nova looks down on her from above. I knew this movie would end on a cliffhanger. That didn't surprise me at all. I got Empire Strikes Back vibes from this. But none of the plot threads are resolved, so we're left hanging with no closure to anything explored in the film. This movie sequel baits and desperately needs a sequel because there's no resolution to anything. At least end the movie with a proper game of motorball showing Alita becoming champion instead of saving that for another film. That way, at least the motorball angle reaches a resolution. Although they can flesh it out more in another movie, this movie needed something to end on. Alita Battle Angel was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it way more than I anticipated. I absolutely love Alita herself, and she is one of my favorite characters in film. Unfortunately, this movie has structural problems, and that ties into it trying to faithfully adapt its source material. It doesn't have as much time to flesh out anything in 2 hours of movie as much as 3 volumes of manga can. Though this movie is far superior to the OVA, which only has 2 30-minute episodes to tell the same story. This movie is still a very fun ride throughout, and I love experiencing Alita's journey, and I want to see more of it. Although this movie turned out good, it doesn't make me say live-action anime movies as a whole can work. For example, a live-action Dragon Ball movie will never work. Period. In many ways, this movie doesn't work, but it has plenty of good elements that keep it afloat. This movie is very cheesy, but it's good cheese.
Damn! There's some good-ass cheese!
This movie is a good introduction to the Battle Angel Alita franchise and definitely makes me want to read the manga. Please make a sequel, make it better, and I'll be sure to watch it. I give it an 8 out of 10. So that wraps up this review. What do you think of Alita Battle Angel? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, like and subscribe for more content. Now, that's it. The next video will be my One Punch Man review. I mean it this time. I'm not making another video until I'm done with that one. So you'll just have to wait for my next CinemaSins video. That'll be the end of this video. Have a good day, everyone. This is Trace, signing out.
How come you didn't tell me how good the cheese was? Motherfucker! Good ass cheese, man. You looking at? I was Bob Eubanks looking motherfucker. You should have told me how good the cheese was.